All right, there you are. My name is Taylor Rehmet. I fix airplanes for a living. I serve my country in the United States Air Force. I've stood on a union floor and fought alongside working people, and now I serve in the Texas Senate. But that's not the story I came here to tell. I came to tell you about a little boy sitting in a public school classroom. He's staring down at the page. The letters, they're there, but they will not be still. They twist, they move. The other kids seem to understand something that he cannot quite reach. And every minute that passes makes him feel smaller. That boy was me. I have dyslexia. When you are a child, you do not have the words to explain why something is hard. You just know that everyone else has turned the page and you are still trying to survive the first paragraph. You start wondering if maybe the problem is not the page, maybe it's you. Then an educator pulls up a chair, not with pity, with patience. They do not lower the bar. They show you another way over it. They look at a child who has begun to doubt himself and lend him their faith until he can build some of his own. I cannot tell you the name of every teacher that helped carry me across those years, but I can tell you this. Every time I walk into the Texas State Capitol, some part of them walks in with me. That is what educators do. You send pieces of yourself into futures you may never see. A student leaves your classroom and becomes a nurse who holds somebody's hand through the worst night of their life. A welder who builds something that outlasts a lifetime because you believed in them. A mother reads to her child because you once taught her how to read. A soldier, a scientist, a doctor, a mechanic, and maybe even a state senator. You rarely get to witness the full harvest of what you planted, but you watered the seed, and you trust America to keep its end of the bargain. That bargain is what brought me here today. Public education is not a program tucked somewhere inside a state budget. It is where this nation first introduces itself to its children. It is where America looks a 6-year-old in the eyes and says, "You matter enough for us to prepare a place for you." Not because your parents are wealthy, not because you were born in the right neighborhood, and not because learning comes easily. You matter because you are here. That is the promise. And right now, across this country, that promise is being broken with remarkable precision. They drain the schools and then blame teachers for the empty tank. They bury educators in unfunded mandates, paperwork, testing, fear, and political theater, and then act surprised when good people cannot take another year. They stand behind podiums and call you heroes because hero is a beautiful word that costs them nothing. Then they go back to their state houses and capitals and refuse to pay you enough to live in the communities you serve. I am tired of gratitude being used as a substitute for justice. You cannot pay a mortgage with Teacher Appreciation Week. You cannot stock a classroom with thoughts and prayers. You cannot build the greatest public education system in the world by asking teachers to make a miracle out of whatever money is left over after the politicians finish rewarding their donors. And nowhere is that consequence greater than in my home state. 1 out of every 10 public school students in America will sit in a Texas classroom. Think about that. 1 in 10. When Texas fails at schools, America feels it. When a teacher leaves because the pay is too low, the burden is too high, and the disrespect has become too unbearable, the whole country loses something. When a child in Fort Worth, El Paso, Amarillo, or the Rio Grande Valley is denied the education they deserve, that's not a local tragedy. That's a national emergency arriving 20 years early. Because the future does not suddenly appear one morning. It's sitting in the classroom right now. It's raising its hand. It's struggling to read. It is acting out because it did not eat breakfast. It is quietly wondering whether anybody in this country has made a room for a child like them. And you are the person who answers. Day after day, you answer. Sometimes with a lesson plan, sometimes with a granola bar, sometimes by noticing that the loudest child in the room is hurting the most. Sometimes by staying 10 minutes after the bell so a student does not have to walk into the world feeling defeated. That work is deeply personal. And make no mistake, it is also deeply political. There is a reason every would-be tyrant eventually comes for the classroom. They're not afraid of a building, they're afraid of what happens inside it. A child learns to read, and suddenly they can investigate the story they've been told. They learn history and discover that injustice is not inevitable. They learn science, and they understand that facts do not surrender because powerful people find them inconvenient. They meet children who do not look like them, pray like them, speak like them, or come from families like theirs, and they learn the democratic idea that no one is born more human than anyone else. That is what they fear. The moment a young person realizes that they are not merely a subject of history, but an author of it, that power begins in your classrooms. And some people would rather dismantle public education than allow every child to inherit it. I've worked around airplanes and machinery most of my life, and I know what it looks like when somebody is trying to strip a thing for parts. They start small. A little funding here, a librarian there, one program cut, one school closed, one teacher driven out. And then they hand what remains to the highest bidder and calls that destruction innovation. We know better. Public education does not belong to politicians. It does not belong to testing companies, private school lobbyists, or billionaires shopping for their new tax shelter. It belongs to the people. And anything that belongs to the people is worth organizing to defend. That is why your union matters. Because love without power becomes sacrifice. And educators have already sacrificed enough. You have given your evenings, your weekends, your own money, time with your own children, your peace of mind, and pieces of your heart that still remember the student you could not save, the family you could not reach, the colleague that finally packed up their classroom and walked away. America does not need another pound of flesh from its teachers and educators. It needs to stand beside them. It needs to pay them. It needs to trust them. And it needs to give them the resources to do the job and then get the hell out of the way and let the professionals teach. I stand before you today as a senator from the great state of Texas. But I speak to you as a worker, as a union brother, and as that boy still staring at the page, the boy that did not know whether there was a place for him in this world. An educator answered that question. Yes. Yes, there is a place for you. That single answer can change the trajectory of a life. It changed mine. So when we fight for public education, we're not fighting to preserve the past. We're fighting for people we have not yet met. For the future teacher who's still learning to read. For the future union organizer that is still learning their voice has value. For the future poet, carpenter, engineer, caregiver, florist, or small business owner who is sitting at a desk right now waiting for someone to believe that difficulty is not destiny. Let that be our work. Let it be said that when public education was threatened, we did not shrink. We stood together and we organized. Thank you, AFT, and God bless every educator who pulled up a chair beside a struggling child. God bless the labor movement that stands beside those educators, and God bless the public schools that are teaching children every day that they belong in the story of America. Thank you.